tell you something, boy. Don't you forget it's Sergeant Marino now. Don't you call me nothing else but Sergeant Marino.
Sergeant Marino and Gorgeous George Jr. forming a team, and we see, I think, yes, that is Gorgeous George Jr.'s son, Gorgeous George III, coming to ringside with his father. Well, his father inviting him into the ring. This is unique. This match now will be tag team action, 1 fall, 15-minute time limit. Introducing in the corner on my right at 230 pounds from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, Sergeant Marino. Sergeant Marino. His partner, the Toast of the Coast from Hollywood, California, 235 pounds, Gorgeous George Jr. Gorgeous George Jr. Accompanied at ringside by his son, Gorgeous George III. In the opposite corner, at a weight of 200 pounds out of Dallas, Texas, here's the Texan Jeff Wayne. And his partner, the popular young star out of Dixon, Tennessee, at 220 pounds, Tommy Heggie. The referee, Jesse Allen, 1 fall, 15-minute time limit. Tag team action. First opportunity to see the new Sergeant Marino, as he has made it quite plain that he wants to reflect the days he spent in Vietnam in the ring, joining forces with the Toast of the Coast, Gorgeous George Jr. And the referee having some problem getting these men in and out of the ring. Gorgeous George's son now leaving the ring area. Referee ready for the bell. And a little conference in the corner between Gorgeous George Jr. and Sergeant Marino. Sergeant Marino opening up for his team against very popular Tommy Heggie. Locking up collar and elbow into the ropes. Count of 1 was all he got. Sergeant Marino from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. In battle fatigues in the ring and a belt of some sort, pulling Tommy Heggie into the ropes. Tommy coming back right after Marino. Gorgeous George Jr. in the corner with a lavender, light blue, and baby pink, bright yellow, and sort of a chartreuse green colored wrestling tight. Gorgeous George Jr. is sporting a handlebar mustache nowadays. Tommy Heggie putting Sergeant Marino on the ropes, taking that side headlock. George Gulas back at ringside with us. George, Sergeant Marino, speaking with him before our program began today, said that he was going to live through his Vietnam War experience in the ring. I don't quite know what that means, but I see he's all decked out in battle fatigues and combat boots and taking the action right to Tommy Heggie.
Changed to the worst. You know, Marino was a tough wrestler before this, but now I think what he's got and what he calls himself, just by cycling himself out, he's going to make himself a tougher wrestler. But he's in a ring of probably one of the most capable wrestlers in the world, and Tommy Heggie, of course, Texan Jeff Wayne has come a long way. But of course, you got, I guess, well-renowned man outside on that apron right now, Gorgeous George Jr. Just his outfits alone cost around $2,000 or $3,000. But before having the outfits cost that much, you got to wrestle. And this man can wrestle, and he can dish it out as well, receive it. And the fans are, I guess, lucky to have a man of this stature come back in this area and wrestle for Universal Wrestling, because he can go anywhere in the world, but he's picked right here, Universal Championship Wrestling.
Gorgeous George Jr., of course, world-renowned, and when you team up with someone like Sergeant Marino, that's fireworks. But we've got some outstanding talent in that ring. You can't discount the other side with Texan Jeff Wayne, and of course, you've mentioned Tommy Heggie, one of the most capable young men, and probably one of the most improved wrestlers in the country today in that ring. George, I want to ask you about this Sir Walter Smith. I don't know anything about him. He asked for time to come out here, and looking over the program today, we had a couple of minutes there. He came out with a handful of money, making some loud, boastful comments that he wanted to buy up the talent in the area.
You know, it's really a funny thing. I didn't know who he was either, but if the man's got money and if he's here to manage, I guess we're going to have to check and see it's okay. And it's okay if the organization, he wants to try to find a team or a man to manage, or maybe both a team and a man to manage. The man evidently knows what he's talking about. He wouldn't come from California on a bale of hay. This man's probably coming on his own Lear jet. And as you can see now, the fans and I guess us are kind of dumbfounded too to find out what he's going to liable to do in weeks to come. So we're going to have to watch this man because we'll probably hear a lot from him.
Gorgeous George Jr. making his appearance in the ring, and nothing has changed. If anything, he's gotten a little more violent than he was before. Look at him. He is just going like a house of fire against Texan Jeff Wayne. Gulas, or rather Gorgeous George, bringing it out. You know, his initials and your initials are the same, and I sometimes get it confused, but certainly in wrestling tactics, there's a major difference. And, of course, Gorgeous George Jr. is a man that is after one thing, and that's victory at any cost.
Right, and here, just like Gypsy and New York Doll and Marino and the rest of them, they'd rather cripple somebody than beat somebody. And I tell you what, they're forming a formidable team when you have Marino, Sergeant Marino, and Gorgeous George in that ring together. But I'm not going to cut Tommy Higgy and Jeff Wayne short because of their youth and speed and knowledge they have, they could spring the upset. It looks like tonight could be the day.
Sergeant Marino body slamming Texan Jeff Wayne, went for the cover, got a 2 count, and was a little bit too sure of himself because Jeff Wayne kicked out. He just put the knee over the chest. Texan Jeff Wayne came out from underneath. Can't sell the young man short. Tony Marino, Sergeant Marino, he is now referred to as, in the ring, working over the Texan Jeff Wayne. Jeff catches that elbow across the kidney area as Tony Marino, or Sergeant Marino rather, dropping on him. That's gonna be Marino kicking at the canvas with that boot. I wonder if he's got something in it. Just turns around now and chops Texan Jeff Wayne. Referee Jesse Allen having a little difficulty keeping Gorgeous George Jr. modified to the corner. Side headlock now. Tag's going to be made, and we'll see Gorgeous George again. Marino, they're working as a team fairly well. Some teamwork in there, holding their opponent so the other man can take the advantage. And this seems to be making of a formidable team in Sergeant Marino and Gorgeous George Jr.
Well, Gorgeous George has been around so long, he could be a teacher in that ring as well as a wrestler. And no matter who he has as a partner, he can tell him exactly what to do in a certain situation or a certain time of match. You can see when you have a man of that stature in the ring like that, and a man that's like Sergeant Marino willing to listen and to learn, they're going to form a team probably hard to beat because Gorgeous George is, like you can say, a master when it comes to professional wrestling.
Gorgeous George Jr. working over the Texan Jeff Wayne. Jeff trying to come out from underneath it. I noticed over at the dressing room door, both the New York Doll and Sir Walter Smith are watching the action intently in this one. And now Tommy Hagee coming in the ring, trying to rescue his partner, Texan Jeff Wayne. Things getting a little out of hand in there. Jesse Allen, the referee, got his hands full. That's a job I don't think I'd want to have. I'd rather sit on this side of the microphone than be a referee.
When you sit out here like the fans are sitting, you can see 4 ways. But when you're in that ring in that square circle, you can only look one way. And the referee has a tough enough job with 2 men, much less an impossible job with 4 men, especially what's in the ring right now.
Texan Jeff Wayne just thrown to the studio floor by Gorgeous George Jr. He's coming now to the floor, picking up the Texan. Jeff Wayne, we better get out. My goodness. Jeff Wayne caught the table, caught the edge of that table. Tommy Hagee going right there with him. As Gorgeous George back in the ring, strutting his stuff. Tommy trying to aid his partner as Texan Jeff Wayne really caught the hard table and popped off the table. Microphone came about a foot off the announcer table here. George, I don't blame you for leaving there. I tell you, his head came pounding off this table, and he is in trouble now.
Well, I know one thing. Gorgeous George did dislocate my shoulder some 4 years ago, and it could be a vendetta still lingering on. You know, 4 years is a long time, but when you get bodily harm, you're not going to forget it. But that's not really in my mind right now. What's in my mind is to put the best possible talent in that ring to give Gorgeous George a stiff test and maybe to beat him. And I think who we got in the ring now, I think they know that. They're trying to do everything possible to weaken their opponents because Higgy can beat anybody anywhere in the country. He's one of the best wrestlers and most popular wrestlers in the United States.
Tony Marino has Tommy Hagee locked up right now as they have been touting Tommy Hagee in the other corner. And Gorgeous George Jr. got him in the ring, and now Sergeant Marino has him locked up on the ropes. Gorgeous George now with the throat of the Texan Jeff Wayne over that lower strand of rope. Referee getting the count. Now they're working over both of them. Sergeant Marino working over Tommy Heggie. Gorgeous George turning his attention to Heggie. Heggie tossed from the ring. Both men in now after Jeff Wayne. Texan Jeff Wayne being set up now. Sergeant Marino's got that heart punch. Are they gonna? Nope. Going for a double back body drop. Gorgeous George Jr. dropping on him with that elbow. Sergeant Marino with that hard punch. Gorgeous George Jr., a master of many holes, picks up the Texan Jeff Wayne and just dropped him over that top rope.
Gorgeous George is looking better and stronger than he's ever looked just in the past 10 minutes, but he's probably looked the past couple of years. And, you know, when a man comes in the area and wants to prove himself, he got that extra added incentive to get in there and try harder. That's what they're doing right now. And he's made Marino a terror in himself. And Marino's just as rough and tough as anybody can get in that squared circle.
Referee warning Tommy Heggie to stay in the ring. In the meantime, double team over in the other corner on Texan Jeff Wayne by Sergeant Marino and Gorgeous George. Whip, caught, back, body drop, high and down goes the Texan. Sergeant Marino going for the cover now. Pulled him up, had the pin and pulled him up. Tag made, here comes Gorgeous George back in. Setting him up, kicks him to the chest. They work well as a team. They haven't been together that long, but already we're beginning to see. Look at this, escape by Jeff Wayne, tag made, here comes Tommy Heggie. Tommy going to work in the ring. Gorgeous George doesn't know where he's at. Whip them together. Down they go. Tommy Heggie moving in. Arm whip. Drop kick. Gorgeous George now. Heggie going for the cover. 1, 2, oh. Sergeant Marino in to break it up at the last minute. Tommy Heggie ready to go to work on Gorgeous George. Look at this.
I told you can't count Tommy Higgins short and Jeff Wayne and Gorgeous George, and Sergeant Marino's in a bad way right now.
Tommy Heggie moving on. Whips the head of Gorgeous George into the turnbuckle. Pounds it again. George is staggered, just went to the eye of Tommy Heggie and poked him in the eye. Tag made. Here comes Sergeant Marino. Marino coming in right after Tommy. Marino. Heggie caught. Big flying hip toss. Marino with a leg across the throat. Goes for the cover. Would we have one? Count of 1 was all he got. Heggie kicked out. Tommy working over Marino. Sergeant Marino now raking at the eyes. Gorgeous George coming down the apron, pounding at the face of Tommy Heggie. Marino and Gorgeous George have used everything they can to their advantage thus far. Tag is going to be made, I believe, and Gorgeous George Jr. from outside continues to work over Tommy Heggie. Sergeant Marino loading that boot again, kicking at the mat. Here comes the Texan Jeff Wayne in to try to rescue Tommy. Heggie kicked back into the corner. Tag is made now. They're going to double kick him. Yes, sir. Right to the chest, and down he goes hard. Tommy Heggie taking a lot of punishment at the hands of Sergeant Marino. And Gorgeous George Jr. Gorgeous George now with that surfboard. This is a submission hold. Tommy Heggie's going to have to try to make a tag to get out of this predicament. Second effort, puts that elbow to the midsection of Gorgeous George. Pops him again. He needs to make that tag. George looking for the tag. Tommy Heggie in a little bit of a bind, having trouble getting to the corner, coming up with the elbow. Sergeant Marino in the ring now. I don't know if a tag was made or not. Tommy Heggie trying to scratch and crawl and scamper around that ring to make the tag. Looking for the tag. Sergeant Marino trying to block it. He's got the tag. Texan Jeff Wayne coming in over that top rope. Coming in with right hands. Sergeant Marino just picks him up. Atomic knee drop. Texan Jeff Wayne hit the canvas. Kick to the midsection. Tag made. Here comes the gorgeous one. Marino just putting the throat across. They got him. They got him. They got him. They finished up that match in due course as Tony Sergeant Marino loaded or unloaded that boot, kicked him to the midsection after that atomic drop. And Gorgeous George Jr. came in for the tag and just dropped on him for a 1-2-3 count. Fans are upset about the outcome of that match, and we see Mr. Sir Walter Smith congratulating the two victors in the match as the Texan Jeff Wayne falls at the hands of Gorgeous George Jr. and Sergeant Marino. Tommy Heggie looking over his fallen partner in the ring. We've got more wrestling action coming up right after these messages on Universal Championship. Before we get to our big main event, Steve, I wanted to have you out here. You made quite an impression on the wrestling fans here in the area. This is Steve Lang fans out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and you've got your hands full for this one against Gypsy Joe.
Oh, yeah, I got Gypsy Joe today, and it's going to be a tough match. I've watched this man a long time. I tell you, I've been out in Carolinas, and all I've heard is Universal Wrestling's the toughest one.
Yeah, let's Gypsy Joe. Yeah, I think you better get to the ring before this gets started. Why don't we let's get the men in the ring. Let's get in the ring. All right. We'll see about it. Wait a minute. Let's get in the ring. This action should be on the floor. We need to get this in the ring. Let's go ahead. Tojo Yamamoto has joined Steve Lane now. Well, we got some fireworks. I got caught in the middle of things here. Steve Lane got pushed a little bit far. I don't know if you heard the exchange. Gypsy Joe with a little couple of words that I think would have upset anybody. This match, one fall with TV time remaining. It's not even time for introductions. Let's just go with it. Gypsy Joe, 242 Romania, 238 Charlotte, North Carolina, Steve Lane. And in the corner of Steve Lane is Tojo Yamamoto. And Lane right away going to work on Gypsy Joe. Winds up and delivers. I appreciate Jesse Allen keeping this action on the floor. Gypsy Joe just made a comment to Steve Lane, dared him, and Lane just went ahead and pushed him flat on the floor here. Lane ain't going to take anything from anybody. He's going to dish it all out. Steve Lane got Gypsy Joe back in, knee to the midsection. Gypsy Joe, I think, has asked or gotten a little bit more than he asked for. Tojo Yamamoto in the corner offering support to Steve Lane, and this is a first. Gypsy brought out in the ring. Double leg twist, a reversal now by Steve Lane. Takes Gypsy down. If Steve Lane can garnish a victory here on television against Gypsy Joe, this would move this young man up the ranks of Universal Championship Wrestling so quickly. And I'm sure he knows it. And he's taking the fight right to Gypsy Joe. Got a 1 count. This match to the expiration of television time remaining. Steve Lane going to work on the leg of Gypsy Joe one more time. Double twist. Look at that. Leg salto by Steve Lane. Fans, obviously, in the corner of Steve Lane. They want him to take the match. Listen to Gypsy Joe. He is in pain as Steve Lane is twisted on that left knee. Actually, it's the right knee. That's a new one. Gypsy Joe being kicked to the midsection. Now he's going to drop on the other leg. See if Steve Lane goes back to the leg. No, going to go toward the head, but he was caught that time. Gypsy Joe Pearl Harbored him into the throat. Gypsy Joe now beginning to show some of the tactics, some of the toughness that has made him world-renowned on young Steve Lane. Tojo in the corner with Gypsy Joe. Tojo Yamamoto, Gypsy Joe. Whoa! Tojo just waylaid him. Tojo, we've only got about 3 minutes of television time remaining. Tojo Yamamoto was in the corner of Steve Lane. Referee Jesse Allen warning Tojo to stay out of the action. Lane going to wrap Gypsy Joe up in that ring. Gypsy tied up over there. Let's see what Lane's going to do. Lane's going to kick him out of the ring. The fans are very excited about this one. Tojo Yamamoto fired up, and obviously Steve Lane is listening to him, and that could mean the difference. We don't have a whole lot of television time remaining. Steve Lane going to put his head into the concrete wall. 2 minutes remaining on our television time. Steve Lane can get a pin on Gypsy Joe. What a feather in the cap of this young man. Lane working Gypsy over. Gypsy has not moved on the floor. Lane crawling back in the ring. Going to confer with Tojo Yamamoto, referee starting the count. Coming up on the 1 minute mark. 1 minute left. Gypsy Joe has been cut. Gypsy Joe bleeding from the head as Steve Lane put him into the concrete wall. Gypsy Joe going after Tojo. Tojo whapping at him. Hitting him again. Puts his head into the wall one more time. Gypsy Joe against the wall. We've only got about 30 seconds remaining. About 30 seconds remaining in this one. Gypsy Joe being raked against the wall. Tojo pops him again. Gypsy Joe is cut. Gypsy Joe is hurt. We could have an upset. 10 seconds remaining. Gypsy Joe put into the ring. We've got less than 10 seconds, 5 seconds remaining. This match, the time limit is going to expire. We're out of time. We're out of time. Steve Lane with things going his way against Gypsy Joe, but we're out of time. He's got Joe wrapped up in a submission hold. But we're out of time. We've got about 30 seconds of where time limit's expired on the match. That's it. Steve Lane has worked over Gypsy Joe. He is injured in the ring. Joe bleeding profusely. Steve Lane continuing to pound at him. Steve Lane continuing to pound. Wrestling fans, we appreciate you being with us today on Universal Championship Wrestling. The action is continuing in the ring. That's it. We'll see you next week right back here for more action.
On Universal Championship Wrestling, I have Tommy Higgin. Tommy, I know you're a fan favorite of many of the fans, especially the ladies being single, and of course, your big factor, I guess, in your wrestling career, but you have to go over so many times. You say the match of the year. I think April 21st, you're going to circle it out in your calendar because that is the match of the year for you.
Oh, that's right, George. But first, I'd like to say we're going to be in Tracy City and Lafayette. I ain't been there in a long time. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. But the match of my career is right here, April 21st in Lebanon, Tennessee. I got it already circled, and I'm getting ready for it. New York Dog, you've been the instigator of everything that's happened to me with the tar and feather and the shaving the beard. But you humiliate me all you're going to. Now it's my turn. I'll tell you what, on April 21st in Lebanon, no time limit, no disqualification, somebody's going to lose the beard, and I'm going to be in there fighting everything I got. And the morning it leaves the ring, we either have the loser will leave without his beard. And the winner will leave with his beard. And the winner will have the pride and the joy of saying he defeated one of the best. And I'm going to be in there fighting with everything I got.
Tommy, I know one thing. The fans really take a liking to you, and I know that you've had some tough matches on Universal Championship Wrestling. I just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, George.
See you around the viewing area for Universal Wrestling.